Mr. Sikaile, we are live. We are live. We are live, Mr. Sikaile. Good evening, Zambia. Good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. This is Queen Pumi here. Welcome, welcome. We have our special guests today. We have Pilato and we have Mr. Sikaile. Mr. Mwansa, can you take over for a minute? I have to take care of something. I think our guests have technical issues, but just hang in there. We are on time. We are on time. Mr. Mwansa, can you take over for a minute, please? I have something to take care of for just like a few minutes. Can you take over, please? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So just welcome our guests. We are waiting for our special guest to join in, but I'll join you. Give me a few minutes. Take over. We are live. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, Zambia. It is a wonderful evening today again. We are back again to address you the issue concerning the nation. We are going to host very powerful people, which we have in Zambia, who took time and sacrifice to make sure that Zambia becomes the environment for each and everyone. And before I waste much of my time, I think I can see Honorable Mr. Sikaile is here already. I don't know, maybe he's ready to take over from me. Mr. Sikaile, good evening. You are on mute, sir.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Good.
You can go ahead, sir.
All right. Welcome, fellow countrymen and women, whenever you are watching us from today. We invite you to this live broadcasting on this platform. Today, I have two guests that we are going to be interacting with, and we'll be looking at the post-mortem of the just ended general elections that we had on the 12th of August. So my guest today, we have Mr. Fumba Chama, if that's correct. Usually I always know the nickname Mr. A.K. Pilato. Mr. Pilato has been in the headlines for quite some time. He has fought a very huge battle where activism is concerned about good governance and human rights in Zambia. And we also have another youth, Pastor Pennias Lungu, the man that I've grown up with, and very instrumental young man, where community involvement is concerned. And I thought I should bring them so that we could talk about the post-mortem of the general elections and analyzing the speech of the president-elect, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. What are some of the content that we can pick and look forward as citizens as he takes over the country for the next 5 years? So those are some of the things that probably our colleagues, they are going to help us in analyzing what's the way forward. I'm not so sure if I was struggling a bit to get through, so I don't know if they are already in, all of them. We have Mr. Pilato.
Not yet. I think there is someone who's trying to join in, but there is a bit challenge connecting to audio. So I think they'll be joining us soon.
All right.
Sure, sir. Who took time? Each and every day, I believe some of you, during elections, you never even slept. We were trying to follow up the page to see what was happening, and that I appreciate you. And to those people who have just joined maybe today, we still appreciate you because it's not easy sacrificing your time and your duties just to be with us. It's a wonderful evening today. Like Honorable Professor Sikaile has already articulated, we are hosting our powerful guest, Mr. Pennias Lungu, has just arrived. I think for now I'll give the Honorable the space to say something. Thank you.
All right. Comrade Lungu, how are you? Pastor Lungu, come in. How are you?
I'm welcome, blessed. How are you?
Good. We can't see you, unfortunately. Would you mind to turn on your video?
I'm having a bit of challenge of connection.
Okay. Okay, there you go. You're most welcome, Pastor Lungu.
Thank you so much. I'm so privileged to be on this platform.
How have you been?
I've been okay by the grace of God. I believe God is so merciful that we are still.
All right. So we also have Commander One. Welcome, my brother. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. I saw your email already, so I was a little bit like, okay, let me try by all means. I was also struggling to come through. You know, sometimes the network is a mess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Sure. No, otherwise, we really appreciate for making it to this discussion. So, to our followers, the two of our guests, they are in, and we are going to begin our discussion for today, where we are looking at the post-mortem of the just ended general elections, and also the first address to the nation by the president-elect, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And we're going to pick a couple number of issues and ask our guests to share what they think and will bring out of like the speech, and also how should we arrange future general elections, such as the one that we just held last week. So I'm going to begin with by your comrade Pilato. And I think the first time I saw the first video that you did when you started singing, I was like, where is this confused man coming from? You know, it was in the early 2020, I don't know, but the early 2000s. They were like, so anyway, what I was just so much interested is how you used to do your art and everything. You know, you came out unique in everything that you have been doing in your music. And in my mind, I was like, can a mad person also do some nice singing and stuff like that? You know, you could pick a lot of like very interesting topics in most of your songs. But one thing that I can tell you, my brother, you have been so instrumental, and you have been an asset to the country, and someone that you have really contributed, and you have really stood so strong in the struggle for our country. There are a number of issues that you know, our brother Mr. Pilato he has addressed. You know, trying by all means, especially where, you know, advocating for good governance and human rights, and also, you know, just a number of issues that are related to the well-being of our country. And you have done songs, you have done writings, and also demonstrations. I remember the other demonstrations that happened was at Lungu when you are arrested, and with the other activists. So, my brother, how would you look at the postmortem, the just ended general elections?
What I think was clearly demonstrated in the just ended election was that Zambians cannot buy stupidity anymore. So we had witnessed the PF run a stupidity-based type of campaign, which was very divisive. A campaign that was meant to incite people, to incite hatred against people from Southern Province. And this election was, and the results was a clear demonstration that you can't fool people anymore. You can't divide people just for your personal political benefits. So that's one biggest element that I got from this election. If you look at the people that voted for the UPND and Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, you realize that tribe was not a factor here. Even though tribe was the biggest campaign message for the PF, it could not convince Zambians that was good enough for them to vote for their weak candidate. So you tend to think and believe that Zambians are way beyond tribal stupidity, and they could not be convinced to vote for a leader who was preaching tribalism. Secondly, it is also indicates the level of disappointment that the people had when it comes to President Lungu's government and the PF. So people had gotten tired of mediocre leadership. People had gotten tired of this chipante-pante type of governance, and they were looking forward to a moment they could save themselves. So this election was that moment where every citizen of this country that was eligible to vote was given a chance, an opportunity to decide between chipante-pante or better. So this was that opportunity. Thirdly, it was also an opportunity for Zambians to express themselves on so many things that has affected them over the period of 7 years. So young people could not be allowed space to protest. Young people could not be allowed platform on TV, radio stations. And we noticed how doctors tried to protest, they got arrested, they got arrested, some of them got fired from their jobs. So it made difficult for civil servants that were displeased with the conditions of service or with the state of affairs. It was difficult for them to express themselves. It was also a moment for our mothers that get harassed in the markets because they do not support the government. It was also a moment for civil servants that get harassed by cadres. So it was a whole combination of this that people had bottled up and decided, since I can't say it and survive, I'm going to say it in a ballot, which is a secret communication. And they did so. And here we are. Criminals are gone.
Thank you. Very interesting narrative there. When you look at some of the issues that you have tabled about citizens not being given a platform to express themselves. I think you and me we're one of those people that were so much marked. Some of us, which actually have some cases to answer, information, seditious, and all kinds of things. But in all this, we're just trying to express our concern as young people. You know, Pastor Lungu, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Looking at the number of young people who turned out to vote in these elections, what does that mean for you as a youth?
I think one thing I need to appreciate is that the strength of our youth is our age. And looking at the number of the youth that turned up during just ended election, I think it's an encouragement, especially to our youth generation, that indeed we can see that the youth are now taking interest to see that they are taking position of what they need to take on. And for me, especially in a country like Zambia, it's really an example not only to our country, but to other nations, especially in this youthful generation, that, you know, we have been sleeping for long. And for this time, I've seen that youth have realized that indeed we are the future leaders and we are the ones that can change our tomorrow. We cannot rely on the generation that is about to retire, looking at also the errors that they have done, which needs to be corrected. So for me, it has been so much encouraging to see youth are taking such kind of vigorous step without fear and so much full of courage and determination to see that they see the change that they need, not only for us as young people, but also for the generation that will follow after us.
Well, that's very interesting, Pastor Lungu. Now, our comrade, Mr. Pilato, just mentioned about one key issue that characterized the PF. It was more like a manifesto, where we saw certain senior party in the PF championing tribalism, Pastor Lungu. You and me, we grew up together. You know very well.
Yes.
And we never knew about tribalism. As small boys in Karingaringa, you know what we used to do. We never knew anything about tribalism. But during these campaigns, during the PF campaigns, during these elections, we saw the entire PF investing so much in the tribal campaign. What does that mean for you, my brother, Mr. Lungu?
Let me start from the church itself. I think also us as a church, we have not much contributed in terms of uniting the nation so that we eradicate this enemy of tribalism. And I've seen it from the church angle. For me particular, I'll be just straight. I've just seen it from the church angle that there's also a piece of element even in the area of the church where you can also see that there's that element of tribalism. And from us, so-called men of God, and which is not really good. And the other issue is also, you see, the church in its umbrella, we are talking of also denominations and also mother bodies. You can just picture from there that also there's that element of tribalism at the end of the day. And we as men of God, I think it should start from the pulpit, in fact, from our homes, trying to teach people that indeed we are one, besides which tribe and race we belong, otherwise we are one. I'm one of the servants of God that have championed that from the church I'm coming from. And because why, you see, we preach to different people within our denominations who are coming from different tribes and backgrounds. Therefore, at the end of the day, you should make them to feel like they're one and they're brothers and sisters. By so doing, even outside there, that is the thing that they will portray and show, you know, because it is just really sad in a land like Zambia, where our first Republican president, may he so rest in peace, Kaunda, championed one nation, one Zambia. But at the end of the day, we have just ended up destroying this. We have just ended up dividing ourselves. And here I will say it is really sad. It is really sad. But I can just challenge our fellow youth and also our elder generation that we have time. We can mend the unity. We can eradicate this issue of tribalism. But the problem is that our politicians are using it as a weapon. You are getting that. You know, they don't know the impartation of it, but at the end of the day, for them, it's for their own good, so that indeed they may able to get more votes, or they may able to have more people to vote for them, you know. But they have never realized the impact that it is bringing, not only from the arena of politics, but from the area of us being Zambian and being a Christian nation at the end of the day. So them, they're just taking advantage of it to campaign for their parties and to decampaign other people's political parties. So at the end of the day, I think the church should come in, because we are the best people that can help to eradicate this problem. I'm telling you the truth. As long as politics is concerned, we'll keep on talking about tribalism, because for some of them, they think it's an advantage as they campaign for their candidate. So they cannot stop, because for them, they see it's working for them to campaign using tribalism talks and mechanism. But at the end of the day, otherwise, it is what is destroying our nation at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Pastor Paul Lungu there. Comrade Pilato, we have had the ECZ as an institution, personally, that I've described as the most arrogant institution that we have had in Zambia, followed by a few individuals in certain institutions, such as the IG, the police IG. We have seen how the ECZ prepared the elections, because the credibility of such a crucial general elections, comrade, it's not about what happened on the actual day of voting, but what happened before, during, and after. That's what determines how credible the elections were conducted. Now, how do you rate the Electoral Commission of Zambia? At the same time, do you think we should continue with the current executive?
So first of all, I'm one of those that challenged the ECZ from the inception, when we noticed that they were not as neutral as they were supposed to be, being that they were mediating between different political parties. And why we intervened at that stage was because the ECZ had started exhibiting some behavior that were not in any way adding credibility to the whole process of elections. I'll give an example. So we had, first of all, Zambia as a country has had the register of voters that could only be improved on or updated according to the law, and ECZ had no authority to discard it and re-register people, especially at a time when ECZ had indicated that they were underfunded. So meaning they had limited resources, so there was no need for them to re-register voters. Why we thought that was not necessary was, apart from that it was against the law, it was also a move that was going to disadvantage the opposition, especially the UPND, and favor the PF. How that was going to happen was, so the registration of voters happened at a time that they were also conducting the national registration card process. So they had advantaged these provinces where they thought they were stronger and disadvantaged provinces where they thought they were weaker. When the whole process of national registration card happened, the voters process also happened. During that time, I and my friends had a project that we were implementing in different parts of the country. And at this time, we were in Western Province, where we heard stories of young people that were turned away, that had gone to get their NRCs, but were turned away. Young people that had gone to get their voters card and were turned away. So all this process was disadvantaging provinces where they assumed they were weaker and advantaged the provinces where they thought they were stronger. And this also reflects in how the registration happened, that you got in the voters register. If you look at the numbers of registered voters, you notice that in the Southern Province, Western Province, Northwestern Province, the numbers had gone lower than the initial ones. So initially in the old register, there were more numbers in this in the southern part of the country, southern western part of the country, compared to the northern part of the country. In the new register, the numbers on the southern part of the country had gone down, and numbers, in the Copper Belt, Lusaka, and going upwards, they had gone up. The assumptions were that the people on the northern part of the country would not vote for the UPND. And that's how they tailored their messaging, to make sure that those that were not from the southern province would not vote for anybody from the southern province. And in the end, they hoped that they would disadvantage the UPND and Mr. Haga engaged them in the process. But that did not happen as fate would have it. The more votes that we got, or the more vote that we got from in this election, did not even come from one region. It came from all the provinces. So even where they thought they were a stronghold, they were not a stronghold. People had decided otherwise. So they thought they would disadvantage an opposition political party. They ended up disadvantaging themselves. So that is one gimmick that ECZ had created to favor one political party. What happened during the announcement of the elections and the voting process, they happened because there was nothing more to do. There was really nothing more they could do, because people had voted. And even if they wanted to favor an opposition, the ruling party, how were they going to favor them when millions and millions of our people had voted? How were they going to engineer the results to favor the PF? So the ECZ, for me, is a compromised organization, institution that needs a lot of mending. And it is our hope that the new government would, first of all, try to understand what is it that makes these people that run these institutions feel that they need to favor the government of the day.
Yeah, so
because yes,
sure, as you asked you there, and because if you remember very well, like I've seen your activism about ECZ and about certain institutions, and I think if I was to check on Google, I would find maybe over 500 articles that I've written talking about ECZ in this incompetence. I think early this year, I remember issuing one statement where I said we should not bank so much, the opposition should not bank so much in the ECZ that they are going to conduct a free and fair elections. And for sure, we saw when it, just as you have articulated, we saw how they conducted the elections. So arrogant. They were like they are doing the elections for themselves and not the people.
For themselves, yeah.
Under
Even their
normal
consultation was not
the
consultation.
ECZ, we are supposed to listen to the people of Zambia.
Mm.
But it's like everything.
Mm.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, I
continue.
can.
I'm just sharing
All right,
a summary of what you're talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
So, comrade, what I just want to know, what should we expect from the new government, especially that they have been the victim of a biased electoral process? Who should we expect to be involved going forward in the ECZ?
I don't think I know any names that I could suggest for ECZ job, but I could recommend a lot of adjustments. So the people that, first of all,
I mean, what I mean here is the composition.
Yeah.
And
so what
how
I'm saying
should those people appointed to run the ECZ? Because it's like in most times, we have the IG, we have the ECZ, we have the Concord judges who are appointed by the president. And everything that most of them they do, they want to please the president, even when somebody is making a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
You have seen. Because we have the issue to do with the judges, even in the National Assembly. We have the issue of the speaker. And we have had problems, like how sometimes, like the way Mr. Matibina has been conducting himself, sometimes you wouldn't know whether he's a cadre or a speaker of the National Assembly.
Yes.
And now it's like people, when they are appointed to those positions, they want first to show loyalty to the president. But we have a supreme law of the land, which is the constitution of Zambia, which even the president is the subject. The president has to obey. The president is not above the constitution of Zambia. And if you recall very well, as we went towards the end of the campaign, the police spokesperson, she told the country that you cannot compare yourself, you, the opposition, to the president. We are going to be smoking you out of whatever your campaign is. That's, you can't compare yourself to the president. But we are talking about a credible, free and fair elections. Yet other people are threatened to be smoked out. Yet the president enjoyed all his movements. Now, my question is that what should we expect? Who should be involved for it to be a transparent organization that is going to present, to do things in accordance with the expectation of the Zambian people?
Yeah, so I think we should increase the powers of parliament to appointing people that preside over these institutions, so that we take away the responsibility of an individual to determine who becomes the chairperson, who becomes the CEO of Electoral Commission of Zambia, or the police and all of that. Because anybody that pays you, anybody that controls you, that appoints you, can disappoint you at some point. So like we know Mr. Kanganja is going, we know the army commander is going. And it is because they know that their contracts is so tied to the contract of a president that they feel for them to stay in the job, they have to do what the president wants. They become the president's tools. So I think that the future appointments for these institutions that are supposed to save everybody should be, the appointment should be done by a body that is not just an individual. And one of the bodies I could probably pick is Parliament, because Parliament is dynamic and at each and every moment. So if you allow Parliament to, the president could nominate, I think that's what happens though. So the president could nominate, or we can expand the scope of when it comes to appointment. So the president could nominate, other people could nominate, whoever gets more nominations, the names are taken to Parliament, and then Parliament votes and Parliament explains who becomes that. I think if we decentralize that power of the president to a point who sits on these, who run these institutions, I think that would instill confidence to exist even when they are not in good books with the president.
Thank you so much. Pastor Lungu,
He's
before
not
the
here.
president conceding
He's not
defeat,
here. He left.
he left?
Yes.
All right. I would love
Pilato,
to
let me
hear-
just say hi to Pilato.
All right. Yeah, you
Good
can
to
go ahead.
see you. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. Good
I'm
seeing
your
you
big
too.
fan. I'm your big fan. Thank you so much. I'm humbled to be here. Yes.
I'm truly humbled to be here too. Thank you.
Sure. Comrade.
He's back.
Oh, is Pastor Lungu? Pastor Lungu, are you there?
He's connecting. So while
right.
he's connecting, can I just say something about what Pilato said?
I have a question for you. Yes. Before the president conceding defeat, there was a statement that was issued by State House who said the elections were not free and fair. And we saw how women and the youth went out in big numbers, spent almost 67 hours on the queue voting. What's your comment, madam?
Thank you so much for that question. So my comment is like, women, we suffer most by the bad policies of any government. And the majority of the voters were youth and then followed by women. So I would like to applaud the women for going out in numbers. Women are the ones sacrificing, selling tomatoes on the street, feeding their families. When we go to hospital to deliver our babies, we have no supplies. So for me, I think this government should really look at the plight of a woman. Women are oppressed. Women are insulted even for being a politician. We saw the last woman who was attacked by PF cadres at the Ministry of Works and Supply. We saw our very own president-elect be ambushed by PF thugs. So there is a lot of gender-based violence in this country. And I want to ask that the incoming government consider promoting women's rights, actually, not just in lip service, actually making things happen for women, improving the quality of life for women. Have somebody who can feel for the women. Some of these people who are in these ministries all these years, they've been collecting money, and the Ministry of Religious Affairs, for example, religious affairs, I think a person in that department should be able to really, power, what's the word that I'm looking for, should be able to fight for women's causes. We had a vice president, Wainonge Wimna, who did nothing. Her legacy for me is handing out 100 kwachas in Solwezi. That's her legacy. There's nothing that she did. Now, I know that Pilato said something. I just wanted to comment on that. So by Pilato, I think, for me, this is just my opinion, the issue in a democracy is not the appointment, how someone is ascended to the throne. For me, it's accountability and separation of power, because even the parliament can appoint me to say, okay, she's going to be the commissioner of ECZ. Somebody will bring me Kasaka Kandala Makumbali and corrupt me, and I'll corrupt the entire ECZ. So for me, I think what failed in our system is our organs that are supposed to do the checks and balances. People who were supposed to blow whistles to say, things should not be going like this. Employees in ECZ were mute. They knew who were making those decisions. So we need to promote a culture of whistleblowing, holding each other accountable. We have so many human rights organizations. They have all been mute in this whole nightmare of PF rule. No one has said a word. It took you from Amnesty International to intervene. It took me in the last chapter at Nangoma Foundation to come in and speaking for crimes against humanity. Even when we saw the report from Amnesty International, it was rubbished by the current government. So I think, by youth, you are the future. My address, I'm usually addressing the youth. because they are taking this country forward. Some of these people, they have already lived their lives and they are in their final bonus years. They are just waiting to hibernate and hide from being taken to jail to pay for their crimes. So we need accountability. Judiciary need to do their job. That's it. You can appoint anyone, they can be bribed. You are on mute, you are on mute, you are on mute.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Just a quick one. Mr. Mwansa, you being a youth and you saw how the elections went, what message do you tell the young people going forward? What should they be looking forward to? Like, how should they watch in the next 5 years as young people?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. First and foremost, let me appreciate Mr. Pilato. I'm humbled actually to be in the same forum with this man has fight hard for Zambia to be the way it is right now, putting the government into power. Sir, I salute you. You are a hard worker. Thank you. Okay, as a youth, as in Zambian political, I don't know how I can put it because, you know, mostly in Africa, you'd find that people, they don't put politics as their first priority, or they consider politics mostly for the youth they consider politics for being for elders. So to me and to my fellow group as in Nangoma, we consider politics to be something which we can benefit from if we put the right people, like the way we've done. And as compared to the way it happened the last regime we had for PF. PF, the politics were all about the elders, old guys, old folks, so to say. The young ones, they gave them the forum of being cadres. But on this one, I will encourage the youth out there to take part in this politics. One, whatever you are given to do, let us do it with all our wisdom so that we take Zambia forward, because we have no other country. They say that we are the future leaders. So if we can't take part on these ones, it can be difficult, because like Madam Pomulo has already said, these old folks, they might go any day, they might die, in short. So as we are youth, we should take up their position, their responsibilities. And in this government, I'll continue urging the youth to stand their ground so that they contribute. It can be in any field, because you know, government has many institutions. So about whatever you are given, let us be mindful on whatever we are doing so that we plan for the future and then we protect the Constitution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Comrade Pilato, now we're going to look at, we have looked at the performance of the ECZ, but as time is running out, we had the first address by the President-elect, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, where he talked about a number of issues. One of them is to do with how to fight tribalism, corruption, also the freedom of the citizen. I remember he assured the media. We have seen the media break out the last 7 years. And we have seen public media houses such as ZNBC, the Times of Zambia, the Daily Mail being turned into propaganda institutions. Yet we pay taxes for those institutions. What do you pick from the president's electees as a first address to the country? Is there hope?
Yeah, so it's very inspiring and hope assuring, especially that it touched on the subjects that really were an influence in the way people voted in this election. So tribalism is a very big problem and was a very big problem during the campaigns. But like he had said, we're going to see how his government is going to be composed, and how policies and development is going to be implemented across the country. And also on media freedoms and media access to information. He also had assured the media that the media was free to conduct itself and regulate itself. As those things are critical in a democracy. It is my hope and belief that what he said is going to be the script which he will follow after the inauguration, when he is sworn in as the president of this country. And I keep saying this to everybody I speak to, that what President Lungu had done is he had discredited everything, discredited himself, discredited institutions, discredited education, discredited the ability for people to dream and aspire for better. Everything was unofficial, everything was informal. What this government should bring to the table is, first of all, reassuring young people that it is okay to dream, that it is okay to aspire for better. It is okay to believe that your dreams are possible. You don't have to be Tonga, or you don't have to be Bemba, you don't have to be Lamba, you don't have to be, for you to get an opportunity to work at ZNBC. You don't have to be, as a journalist, you don't have to sell your soul to a minister or to the government for you to get a promotion. So it is those critical things that I feel that that speech had brought to light. It was a speech that says, you are, as long as you are Zambian, you are good enough to participate in the affairs of this country. As long as you are Zambian, you are good enough to aspire for better, for bigger, and for greatness. So that's what I got from that speech, especially about that. And also for the media, it's very critical for me and for the work that we do, because the media is the platform that we use oftentimes to relay the good and the bad of society, so that we can bring what is happening, the good and the bad, to the attention of those that are in charge. But if the media is biased, if the media decides to just sing praises for the president loses access to what is really happening on the ground.
You are on mute, Comrade Sikaile. You are on mute. Unmute your mic.
All right, Pastor Lungu, we are looking at
Yes.
the address yesterday by President Hakainde Hichilema to the country. And he talked about a number of issues. I think one of them that he talked about, it was about reconciliation, forgiveness, so that we move on. Now, of course, I've seen a lot of mixed reactions from the general public, and you know, a lot of people, it's like they are angry, looking at all the events, all the things that happen around. And I also saw on your page, Comrade Pilato, you tabulated something of what we expect after the parliamentary elections. Now, Pastor Lungu, we have had the extrajudicial killings in the country. We have had the young people being shot. We have had a number of very sophisticated events, such as the gassing. Corruption has been the day or the song that has been sung by many Zambians. We have had the miracle houses, 48 houses. In general, I'll talk about rampant corruption, where we have seen people from the outgoing government getting rich overnight. We have had the Mukura saga. What do you expect from the incoming president, Mr. Lungu? What do you expect from the incoming president? Because there are personal issues where I can forgive my brother Pilato, and there are certain issues that has got an attachment to the country. So, what do you think? Should we just forget about these extrajudicial killings, or maybe we should
ask the president to say, okay, you at personal level, can you forgive? But on these issues, as citizens, we need answers. What is your take? Hope my question is clear.
I'll say your question is very clear. You have pushed me to the corner there. I think one thing I will be very categorical is that I was so amazed with the things that His Excellency elect President Hakainde Hichilema in his speech. Certain things that he stated, I wasn't expecting though. I was so amazed and wow, I was so challenged at the same time because, you know, what he went through in the past, if it was some of us would take it so hard and so harsh with an approach that definitely you say it is out of resentment. But hearing from him, preaching peace and forgiveness, to me was something that I was so amazed with. And yeah, there's hope for Zambia. For me, I will just tell you that there is really a big hope for Zambia. Let me start first with forgiveness. There are two things involved in forgiveness. One of it is that we must understand that, yes, forgiveness is there. And whenever we err or someone errs, and yeah, we can forgive because forgiveness brings reconciliation and forgiveness really brings a solution to the conflicts at hand, and forgiveness brings peace. But at the same time, you must understand that certain things that we can say we forgive, there are also institutes that has also laws which has to apply. And they has also to take course besides just forgiving someone, because it is their duty. For instance, if you were to find me with a case to answer under corruption, I believe the SEC has a better position also to apply their laws, you know. Besides you yourself, you can say we have forgiven you for this case, but at the end of the day, we cannot jeopardize the institute which has to take course or action concerning what I've committed. And this is where Zambians were mistaken, because if someone has committed a criminal offense, I believe that the law of Zambia has to take its course upon proven guilty. And if I say I forgive such kind of a person, yes, I forgive because they have done so. But at the end of the day, we are governed by law and we are governed by institute, which also have been placed there to make sure that there is order and the same peace that we are forgiving, by the way. And this is where Zambians, we need to be so patient. For me, besides His Excellency preaching forgiveness, I'd rather that for us, really, as a nation, we must allow and give freedom to the institute that has to take course for certain things, especially for things that are still hanging, things that are full of question marks, and the things that has to be sorted out so that indeed we walk at the same page. Because there are people that are crying outside there. And the Zambians have been in injustice for long. And we see many people that today, families, you know, who lost their beloved ones in an injustice way, you know, and they are crying for justice. You know, we have also rampant corruption that we have experienced previously. And for me as a Christian, I believe the Bible encourages that this is unlawful, even bribes and so forth. But upon that, we cannot just say, yes, we're a Christian nation without taking the course of the law also to be implemented by these institutes. So for the issue of forgiveness, I really applaud the president. Really, forgiveness has to be preached, but also I encourage that we give room for various institutes that has to take their laws in these issues.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Paul Lungu there. We are almost winding up. We have about less than 10 minutes. Comrade Pilato, We have seen one of the things I think Zambians went to vote out, it was political cadres, where we saw these guys growing big-headed, because I think the only thing that they had remained with was to beat the president. Because we saw cadres, they could beat other people. They went to one of the most respectable office of the justice minister. Mr. Given Ruminda was beaten, and the matter was in court. PF cadres were sentenced. So we saw cadres growing big-headed. And today I saw some videos, very disturbing videos. And actually I even issued a statement where some cadres, whether they are UPND, they are putting on UPND regalia. They were harassing police officers. And I think some of us, despite our work, we dealt with a lot of people, Comrade Pilato, you'd understand. With the police, civil servants, when you're doing your investigations, they'll call you, they tell you what is happening in the system. And these guys, one of the things that personally they have been telling me, Mr. Sikaile, we don't want cadres anymore, please. This is why we are going to vote in big numbers. It's like everyone never wanted to see cadres. What is your comment on cadres? Because personally, for me, I don't want to see any cadre anymore.
Yeah, cadres are a problem. We don't need to see cadres in markets. We don't need cadres in bus stations. Cadres are criminals that steal from the state coffers. So I'll give an example. When you allow cadres at intercity market or at the Kawata market, what you are doing is you are the sources, the funds that should be going to the council ends up in the cadres' pockets. And for them to continue staying in these pockets, in these stations and markets, you are telling them that they have to support the government of the day, because the government of the day is the only one that has got power to remove them from these stations. So cadreism is a cancer and the corruption of morals that we must get rid of as a country. If we are committed to building a better society, if we are committed to building a better country, the best thing that we must do is let's do what is necessary for us to progress. Cadreism is not necessary, and we must get rid of it.
Thank you so much for that, Madam Pumuro. We have seen cadres, they are threatening women and dressing women, especially during campaigns. We saw one young lady one time when she posted something where she was just putting on something red and she was harassed in town. That's how, things had gone bad. What do you think? Should that culture of cadreism continue anymore in the country?
Thank you, Comrade Sikaile. I think that's why we saw people sleeping outside the polling stations to go and cast their vote, for their voice to be heard. It was women speaking, I myself as a woman, I was attacked with my children at intercity bus station, by the same thugs. And this man, a bus driver, a conductor, is the one who came to rescue me and my children to say, leave these people alone. They are my sisters. Otherwise, they were going to undress us and just, this kind of hooliganism is like, I don't know what to say. It's like Zambia became like a barbaric state, like we are even like, I don't know, like 1800s. Like, when did people behave like that? Where in the world do people behave like that nowadays? Nowhere, except in Zambia. So I want to thank all the ladies, the youth that voted. That was the voice. Power to the people. I've seen people today marching in their streets, wearing regalia. They are so happy. This is the Zambia that we knew. Zambia is a sovereign state. We have laws in place. Everything is in place. But this PF paralyzed the systems. They hijacked the system and made Zambia into a banana republic, or I don't know what word to say. But before I wind down, my last comment, if you allow me, I just want to comment on this issue of forgiveness. So this is circulating, is trending, is viral on social media. How can President, His Excellency Baba HH, forgive Mr. Lungu? Now, I just want to explain two things here.
Yeah, so you have
His
half a minute.
Excellency,
We are running out of time, sorry.
Yes, it's okay. I just want to say two things because people are confusing two things. They are saying he should not be forgiven. So, but our president, in his personal capacity, can forgive Lungu. But the crimes that PF government that they committed against humanity, the president, HH, has no capacity to forgive those people. So
Very
the full course of the law will take action and they prosecute whoever committed
Thank
a
you so
crime.
much.
That's what I wanted to say. Thank you
so much. Pastor Lungu, under 1 minute, what was your message to the young people in Zambia?
I've loved how Umishi has concluded, and that's the fact. And let me conclude with this. Zambia is in good hands. Zambia is really in good hands, and I'm believing God that indeed our president will deliver what he can. I know you cannot be perfect in everything, but there is something that Zambia will experience in this transition, which we need to be patient and we need to be supportive and we need to work hand in hand with him. I appeal to the church because the church must not neglect the government. Neither the government must not neglect the church. We must support the church, and also the church has to support the government. We need to have one voice because this is our land. This is Zambia. There is no another Zambia. I appeal to servants, men and women of God out there, that let's support the government at hand fully and let us work together. Let love lead and peace leads. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The church should support the government, but let them not be bootlickers, because we have seen some people like we had the Christians for the president. We don't need that from the church. We need the church to be very objective, right? Comrade Pilato, under 1 minute, your message to the young people in Zambia. Believe you me, you have been an inspiration. Many young people, they are looking up to you today, what you have done for the country. What is your message to the young people? Thank you.
My message to young people is stay hopeful, keep pushing. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
All right, we have come to an end of our discussion for today. We thank you, those who joined us in this discussion. I had hosted Comrade Pilato, one of the good governance and the human rights activists, and Pastor Paul Lungu, who is involved in religious matters as well as community-related works. And we had also my sister, Pumi, that we are hosting together. And we really appreciate you for tuning in and joining us. We wish you a very good night and join us next time.
Mr. Sikaile, Mr. Mwansa is on the line. Maybe you can just give him a minute to wind down as well.
I almost also said that.
He's going to start crying that you overlooked him, so I don't want him to cry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you are nowhere to be seen.
Thank you.
He's there. He's there.
All right.
Go ahead, comrade.
Under a minute. What are your closing remarks?
Okay, my closing remarks is just to appreciate the press briefing which Mr. Hakainde outlined yesterday. It was so powerful, such that whoever has never heard something like that, I think they had to understand. And to those people who are lashing into conclusion over the reconciliation remarks, just be patient. Be patient. The president knows how to do it, because he said it yesterday that it's not his duty, but the judiciary. I think that's the only thing which wanted to add up. Thank you.
All right. I just want to appreciate everyone. My brother Pilato, brother Paul, brother Mwansa, and my sister Pumi. Thank you for coming through, and thank you for making it. I am really humbled. Thank you so much.
And please tell Pilato to cut those beards. We are in a new generation now.
Warungu, 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 Warungu.
We need the new anointing.
No, Mr. Rungu. I even
Thank you so much.
bought rats for you to eat. I won't give you.
You see?
Tumbe maka. Now we are eating cows. We are tulimuli beef no, but tulimuli T-bone. No
We
more
don't need tumbeva. We are with cows now.
Tumbeba tulikuwaya.
Okay, bye guys. Come on, thank you.
Good night,
All
good
right,
night, good
take
night.
care.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone. Thank you so